up for a long walk. I might need some company, someone I can relate to, someone other than me. So I'm tired of these conversations I keep on having in my head. It's a long way home. Once you made your bed, sick of my shadow, will shed my skin. Sick of my shadow, will shape on me. Sick of myself, everything I do. Sick of my shadow, since I lost you. Oh yes, so I got some problems. What else is new? I spend too much time in Jamaica. I guess I'm trying to paint it blue. But we can't all be like you did, with your $1 million smile. Some of us don't bounce back. We stay down for a while.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the DS race here at Charlotte Motor Speedway in the Next Gens. I am Edwin Warren. I'm going to be joined in the booth today by first-time broadcaster Hunter Davis. How you doing, Hunter?
Hey, Edwin, how's it going, man? Happy to be here.
Yes, sir. I'm glad to have you. We also got a driver in the booth. He's going to have a pre-race interview. Mr. Christian Clark, who's sitting third in the points, climbed 2 positions in the last race. Christian, how do you feel about this race?
Man, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm kind of nervous. We got a lot of new people here tonight. Not gonna really know how to race around them. Um, but I'm pretty confident that I'm set in points good enough to make it to the playoffs. So just gonna try and come out here and have fun.
How do you think the car is handling out there, Christian?
Car handles good. I mean, it's a night race, so I haven't had really any difficulties with it getting loose or anything. Only issue I'm having is um, taking these turns a little too fast and washing up the track. So watch for a lot of guys hitting the wall coming out of four.
What would you say that your keys to success for this race are? What do you need to complete in order to succeed for this race?
Uh, I tires. It's gonna be a strategy. That's how I'm gonna work it. I'm not that fast at this track, so I got to try and figure something else out. And I'm going with tire saving.
Well, Christian, we in the booth wish you luck in this race tonight. So hopefully everything goes as planned, and hope to see you up front.
All right, man. I appreciate you guys.
That was Christian Clark as these cars are getting ready to grid right now. So it's going to be a good race, Hunter. I think this is going to be an interesting one. That I went out there and practiced a little bit. The track seems really grippy, seems easy to drive, but you got to pay attention to what you're doing. What do you see happening here today? As we also have Damon O'Brien as our producer.
I think the biggest keys to success are going to be keeping your nose clean and working well with others. This track does drive like a draft track with a little bit of brake on entry and can get a little loose on exit. So as long as you can work around others, I think we'll end up seeing a really good race tonight.
I agree with you. I think as long as these guys can manage their tires, I'm going to let you do the running order here. Hunter Davis, it's going to be a good race. Go ahead and give me that starting lineup.
Starting on your inside in the pole position, the number 19 of Ben Pivot. 2 is outside, starting in P2, Gary Bergeron. In P3 on the inside, we have Brandon Hitton in that 27, and in fourth place, Todd Perrant. Starting in P5, Tom Ringer in that 68 car, and Paxton Brandon in the 49, starting in P6. Starting in seventh, we have the 40 car of Ben Kuhn and the 63 car of Craig Knoll to his outside in P8. Starting in P9 on the inside row, we have Marcus Winooski, and on his outside in P10, Jonathan Green. Starting in 11th, the 8 is Zach Reichel, and the 12 on his outside of Ryan Frank. Starting in 13th, we have the 57 machine of Chris Wagner, and to his outside, the number 23 of Thomas Long. Starting in 15th, we have Brian Salsa in the 60, to his outside, and the 85, Jeffrey Reed. Starting in P17, the 3 of Sean Dion, and the number 18, starting in 18th, the 99 of Christian Clark. Starting in 19th, the 9 of Tad Dabney, and to his outside, the 59 of Matthew Tennant. And starting at the rear of the field in 21st, we have the 56 of Mark Holloway.
Oh, man. Oh, man. For once, we have everybody qualified, ready to start this race as we come around on the back stretch, getting ready to look towards the green flag. Who are some key players you're looking forward to there, Hunter?
Well, I think the key players are really going to devolve into these playoff drivers, right? Especially sitting around in that 10th position, right? Everybody's going to be clawing to get up into that final spot. It's a really close race to make it into these playoffs. So I see a lot of drivers trying to work their way up front and stay up there.
Yeah, I think the same. Those guys who are trying to make sure they get into the playoffs, they're going to be clawing tooth and nail for everything. You know, you got CNC Motorsports, TRN, CRR, all having drivers in contention for this championship. You know, Rat Fink Racing as well. Can't ever forget about Rat Fink. They're the powerhouse of DES here. So as we're coming around to get that green flag, as Ben Pivot leads us to the green flag, he's won 3 races on the season. Gary Bergeson, he's been knocking on the door. Ben Pivot moves up the line a little quick early in the session as they barrel off into turn 1.
Here in a few laps, we should start to see him spread out. That's when it's really going to come into play and see who can save tires the best and who's just going to burn them. Especially with no stage breaks, you have no guaranteed pit under yellow. So
I think that's why Ben Pivot's trying to make a gap right now as Brandon Hinton's trying to battle under Gary Bergeson, who started P2. These guys are really wanting to get some gaps between them, so when their tires start falling off, they have space to, you know, counteract it. But they also have to be careful. Doing these launches hard early on can cause them issues.
absolutely, after one full lap complete, you see most of the field is already single filed out, trying to get into their groove and start making their way up front.
Yes, sir, as you got a few people battling each other as Todd Perrant's trying to get under his teammate Tom Ringer, but he's going to be careful about it. He never wants to wreck his teammate. Then you also have Ben Kuhn right there as well, who is a TRN driver. He's wanting to carry that outside line around them, and it is working out for him. Do you think the outside line will have power over the inside line?
Honestly, it all depends on how hard you want to push the car. You can roll the car to the inside, you can gain a lot of grip, but you're going to burn those tires pretty quick. Same thing on the outside. If you're in the throttle too early and you start sliding the rear end, you're just going to smoke the rear tires.
That is true, and it's looking like something that these guys are trying to pay attention to as now Todd Perrant moves up. He's going to try and use that same line to get back around Ben Kuhn, but he just doesn't have the momentum. It looks like we got a separation from the field. The 60 car Souza in P12 has the gap behind him to Ryan Frank in the 18. It looks like we've got 2 groups forming as Thomas Long going for a position. That back group seems to fight a little bit more, though.
Yeah, definitely in the back group, you can see the gloves are already coming off. The 99's got a little bit of front end damage. Mark Holloway's just out there making as many passes as he can, trying to gain as much positions.
Yeah, these guys, they definitely don't want to kind of stay in the position they're in. They do need to start working their way to the front at some point. But right now, they can get away with it as Christian Clark looked like he got up there towards the wall. He's dropping back to the tail end of the pack entirely. Ben Kuhn's kind of set the tempo as he's running this race the way he wants to, but he's being chased down. I want to acknowledge that. He is being chased down.
It looks like most of our guys up in this lead pack, at least back through P10, right? We're all single filed out in that front pack. Once you start getting into that rear pack, it's definitely starting to get a little dicey back there.
Oh, yeah, it's getting pretty dicey, and I have to say, keep an eye on those guys who are managing their tires early on. You know, guys like Christian Clark who have lost positions. You know, he's paying attention to what he's doing. Gary Bergeson in that front pack, he's the same way. He's dropped back. But like I said, look how they've caught Ben Kuhn. You know, the front group's starting to tighten up. The back group is also very tight as Thomas Long's trying to get to the front of that pack. But he's got Tad Dabney battling underneath him, trying to take that position.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how this plays out. We're only a few laps in, and it's already starting to kind of narrow out, right? I think that's going to produce longer green flag runs as tires start to wear. I think that's going to start introducing some really tight racing.
Yeah, I think they've already kind of are starting to feel a little bit about their tires as 4th, 5th, and 6th were battling right there. They kind of spread out a bit. Gary Bergeson, he started P2. He's trying to really not trying to fall too far behind the pack, as now we also see Christian Clark trying to climb some positions as well in the back. So tires are going to be a real big problem here, Hunter, and I think you of all people, you're my guy for strategies. So I think you know how saving tires goes.
I think the biggest thing is going to be trying to line that up with your fuel strategy. I'm not quite for sure how many laps these guys can make it on fuel, but the longer these green flag runs go, right, their tires are going to be extremely worn, and it's going to kind of lock them into one groove. It's going to make it a lot more difficult to pass.
Yeah, and that's not what they want. They don't want to be in a one groove track because that means you're not passing. That means you're not gaining. That means you're not in contention to win. I mean, yeah, you can't win it on lap 1 or currently what lap we're on, lap 11. You can't win it on lap 11, but setting up for end game, putting yourself in position and, you know, letting your tires fall off with a gap behind you is kind of a good strategy as these guys are going to be looking for that as Craig Knoll dives below Todd Perrant.
Looking at this 40 of Ben Kuhn, man, he's really on it. He just slingshot around the one of Gary Bergeron. Now he's looking to the outside of Tom Ringer. Watch him as this outside lane starts to get going on corner exit. He's going to get a huge run. Oh, got into the wall a little bit there, but he'll get a huge run onto the backstretch and usually slingshot him down into turn 3.
Yeah, these next gen cars are quite tough. So, you know, bouncing off the wall a little bit, they're fine. But, you know, he's going to have to settle in behind Tom Ringer. Tom Ringer is a very good driver. You know, he doesn't get beat too often. You know, people don't make passes on him without him understanding the ramifications of it, you know, so he's going to have to work for that.
We got the 56 of Mark Holloway and the 23 of Thomas Long side by side racing. Looks like a pretty close run. I don't know who's going to get it going into turn 3.
Those three back there, Tad Dabney, he's also been involved in that. I think if one of those cars get clear, they're going to get moving, but they've got to get clear of each other. They're so evenly paced, it's hurting them.
The 9 of Tab Dabney thought about looking 3 wide, decided to back out, right? We still got a long race to go.
Tad Dabney is one of the more aggressive drivers. Oh, Thomas Long darting down. Tad Dabney is one of the more aggressive drivers on track, but he's been learning a lot through and through that he needs to be patient, and it's paying off for him. I mean, he's finding his way through these guys to where he can potentially catch that lead pack.
He shuts the door on the 23 and secures that position.
Oh, we got Craig Knoll, not Craig Knoll, Wisnowski down low on Todd Perrant.
Going through the field, man, we've really started to single file out. I think that's going to help these guys kind of ride their own run and run the line that they think they can save the most tires with. I think this is really going to produce some really good runs tonight.
Oh, yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of tire-saving battles, but at the same time, we're going to see battles for position. You know, they're going to be fighting for it.
Absolutely. We have the 40 car of Ben Kuhn looking to the outside of Tom Ringer, trying to complete the pass, entering turn 1. He looks like he takes it away.
Ben Kuhn has kind of been trickling his way up there, but notice how Tad Dabney broke away from that back group, man. As soon as he got away from them, he was able to settle in his groove, and he's getting a little bit of gap between those guys. He's really trying to walk away from them as the 18 car and the 51 are now trying to get in there and fight for it. Not the 51. I don't even know who that guy is. 59, I believe it is. They're trying to get their battle started.
Looking back here in the second pack, P13 through 17 are really battling it out.
When do you say this is enough? When do you say, let me settle in my groove, let them burn up their stuff? For this back group there, Hunter, when do you finally make that decision to back off?
Ultimately, this early in the race, right, there's no stage breaks. I'm not concerned with stage points. The biggest thing I want to do is I want to keep the nose of the car clean, and I want to conserve tires. I want to try to extend my runs. That way I have as much options to play with towards the end, right? The more fuel and the more tires you save. If you go and you burn through all 3 sets of tires by lap 100, right, when it comes to that last 50 laps, you're going to have nothing left in the tank, right? So trying to conserve it and extend these runs as much as you can, right? We're all racing for the end. Nobody's racing for lap 20 or lap 50. we're racing for lap 150, and I think that's what's going to help them out the most.
Smart. Smart statement there, Hunter, man. If you want to see this exciting race, make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube at DSI Racing. Like and subscribe. It's best viewed in 1440 HD as we've recently gained that access thanks to Mr. Damon and his Demon Productions. So make sure you come to the YouTube channel, put it on 1440, enjoy the show, like, comment, and subscribe for this amazing race we've got going on here today.
And if you are interested, the link to our Discord is in there. Come out here, get on the track with us, turn some laps, and see what DES is all about.
Me and Hunter both are drivers in DES, and I can tell you, as we've got Brandon Hinton going back on Ben Kuhn after Ben Kuhn got by him, I think Ben Kuhn may have burned up his tires, but me and Hunter both are drivers in DES. We both have a win. It came in the truck series, and I can't lie to you, man. Beating these amazing drivers is a next level high. These guys are very good at what they do. Come out, race with us, see if you can lead a lap, see if you can win a race.
And look at Ben Pivot up here starting to kind of pull away from P2 as P1 and P2 are kind of stretching out a little bit as they're duking it out for P3 through 7.
That guy in P2, this is his first race. You know, Paxton Brandon, this is his first race with DES, and he has turned up and said, hey, I'm here. I'm here to fight. I mean, I know it's a lap 23, but this is a good moment for him. There's a lot of teams in DES, a lot of good teams, you know, Ratfink, CRR, TRN, what else we got? CNC Motorsports. There's so many teams that are out here looking for drivers who do that good. So this guy's putting you know, a sign out there saying, hey, I'm here. I can win races. I can lead laps. I can run up front. He's doing a good job. Heck, if my team wasn't full, I'd probably want to sign the guy.
Absolutely. I mean, racing in a server like this, right, where we have a lot of talent out there, we have a lot of guys with different backgrounds that all come together for, you know, this common goal, right, to see everybody working together, playing nice, right? You see those people that kind of get into it with each other, right? It just adds to that emphasis of, right, we're all out here for a common purpose, right, to win these kind of races.
Oh yeah, and you and I both know as well, you know, we both fought hard for our race victories. You know these guys are hard to beat. They're really good. I mean, look at these guys. We just watched Ben Kuhn and Mark Holloway bounce off the wall and continue hard charging. Ben Kuhn's still putting pressure on Brandon Hinton. You know, they're really fighting. As Ben Kuhn gets in the wall again, he might start hurting that car doing that. So these guys, next level. DES advertises itself as a novice league, but these guys are really strong. They know what they're doing. They pay attention. They teach each other. We have educational moments. Man, I just love DES. It's a great league.
Absolutely. And you brought up a good point, right? You do see a lot of people making contact with this wall. That's one thing you really want to try to avoid, pushing the car too hard too early, right? These next gen cars are very aerodynamic favorable, right? So if you do get some sort of aero damage, it can cost you a lot, especially on a longer track like Charlotte.
Oh yeah, I mean, look at Ben Kuhn in you know, as a prime example. This man raced his way all the way up to P3. He's now to P5, and he's about to fall into the clutches of Craig Knoll. You know, he's been doing great, but that wall contact is hurting him. It looks like he's burnt up his tires more than he needed to, and it's starting to show now.
I mean, look at Ben Pivot, right? 3 or 4 laps ago, we were talking about him. He had a 6/10 of a second of a lead right on P2. He's now grown that lead to almost 2 seconds over the rest of the pack. Is he burning up his tires, or is he just running that right line to pull away from everybody else?
I personally think he hasn't had anything to make him change up his line. He hasn't been put in a position where he has to burn up his tires. he just keeps running his line as Brandon Hitton's trying to look around Paxton Brandon for P2. So, he hasn't been under fire. And, I've watched Ben Pivot race a lot. He's a great driver. He's very fast. But traffic is not his friend. And that's the defining feature. Someone has to put a threat under him to make him change up his line. As Brandon Hinton dives to the inside of Paxton right there, he's really trying to get in under him. He wants to get P2.
Got an excellent run off of turn 4 into this little quad oval. It looks like he's going to be able to clear him.
The thing is he cleared him on the inside too. You would think the outside would be better to carry momentum, but he cleared him on the inside.
It all depends on your tire state. That outside line, you can definitely run it, but you are going to absolutely burn those tires. And look at the gap that he just put on Paxton just using that backstretch.
Yeah, I think Paxton may have also burned up his stuff as he's now fallen in touch with Gary. Gary in that one car, he's a strong guy, man. We were at Talladega last week, and he was hailed as the best pusher in that race. He's a strong driver. He wants to make a charge to the front as well.
Yeah, Gary Bergeron and Craig Knoll were going at it there for a couple of laps side by side. It looks like Craig kind of backed out. Oh, as he starts to pull back up to his bumper and is looking to his outside again.
The guy we interviewed at the beginning of the race, Christian Clark, he has dissolved back to P19. I think that front end damage is starting to impact the aerodynamics of that car. He just hasn't had the speed to really combat anybody. He's probably hoping for a caution, but the field is so spread out. Where is he going to go? There's no, I'm going to be honest, there's no hope for that caution right now. These guys are just running a really strong race. He is in third in the points, and this is the last race before the playoffs, so he's qualified for the playoffs already right now. So he might, even that damage might be slowing him down, but at the same time, he doesn't really need to take any risks. So it's kind of a smart move for him to drop back like that. As we got 3 cars nose to tail, Craig Knoll trying to go under Gary trying to pass Paxton cleanly.
Yeah, looking at our point standing right now, right, you have a lot of guys in here that are pretty close into making it in, depending upon where they finish tonight. Tom Ringer, Brandon Hinton, Christian Clark, Ben Pivot, all those guys are locked in. But as you start going down towards the 10th place spot, right, we don't have Max Dinda here tonight. We don't have Charles Connor. However, look at Thomas Long, Jonathan Green, Gary Bergeron, Sean Dion, all those guys that are just within a few points of that last spot into the playoffs. I think this race is really going to benefit them.
It's a points race at this point, and these guys are going to continue paying attention to that. It is a points race. They are running a race within a race, and they're going to be paying attention to that, as Gary Bergeron is probably in the best position right now to put himself into that top 10, as like you said, those 2 guys aren't here. But he needs a really good finish to put himself in there. And P4 is kind of working out for him.
Looking at the 85, Jeffrey Reed just pulled a position off of Sean Dion. Now looking to the inside of Mark Holloway. Looks like he's going to easily clear him.
We got the 51 with an issue. We got the 59 with an issue. I'm sorry, 59. He just went onto the apron, darted up to the wall. He's lucky the field didn't collect him.
Now let's hope he keeps it down here off the bottom, limps it back to pit road, and knocks out one of those faster pairs. A reminder for our fans out there watching, we do have 2 faster pairs in this series. So he'll be able to get it back on the pit road, get it fixed up here in a few seconds, and back on the track.
That's just carrying too much momentum. He probably has a flat on that car, and then he misses pit road out of a turn 4, and he's a lap down now. He's put himself in a very bad position.
Yeah, now that these guys are so spread out, right, it's going to come down to a game of if we stay green, who can who can last the longest, right? Can you keep a hold of that car, keep it out of the wall?
It's interesting as you see those three battling, but look at what's right behind them. Look at them 5 cars right there. Look how far back Ben Kuhn has fallen. That is how important tires are. You said it, Hunter. Tire management coupled with speed. He is in P10. This guy was up to P3 at one point, raced his way all the way up there, and now he's just back through the field.
One thing that's really going to affect him, right? If those 3 cars keep battling it out, those 5 cars right behind him are going to start running him down like crazy.
He's really got to pay attention to what he's doing. It's a tough track out there. I mean, you know me, man. We're teammates. I'm not the best at tire saving. If I was in Ben Ku's position, I would just be thinking, hold on to it, hold on to it, because when the pit stops start, I'm going to benefit. I'm going to be able to pass these guys again. But at the same time, he has to be worried about a caution. If a caution comes out, everybody gets tires, and then he's just screwed at that point.
Looking at our leader, Ben Pivot's about to counter his first lapped car as he starts to run him down here through this quad oval.
It's Thomas Long, who's currently sitting in, I believe, that P11 position. He's in a battle with Gary Bergson as he drifts up a little bit into the leader. Leader doesn't hit the wall, so that's good. He gives him the space he needs. He lets the leader by.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see much effect here from lap traffic, right? As we do have a 20-car field, however, on this large track of Charlotte, usually guys will be fairly decent and give the leader the space that he needs to get by him safely.
There's just no point in fighting them at this point. I mean, we're a third of the way through the race. Fighting them would just be unnecessary. I mean, you don't want to be the reason that an incident happens. You really don't want to be that person.
Looking back here at the 85 of Jeffrey Reed and the 57 of Chris Wagner out here battling it out on the backstretch. Looks like the 85 is going to take the position.
We do have a battle for that P3 position as Gary Bergson got by them. Craig Knoll gets past Braxton as well. But Braxton's not going to want to give that up easily. But remember, these guys get to fighting. That pack of 5 right behind them chases them down.
Looks like that 63 is going to look to the outside of Gary Bergeron in the 1. He pulls right up into his bumper, looking to the inside in turn number 1. It looks like the 1's going to shut the door on him.
Craig Knoll is a very clean driver. He's not going to force an issue, He drives people with respect. So it's an interesting situation happening right now.
Looks like the 59 Ringer is pulling off to the track.
Yeah, the 59 gave him a tap.
Going into, looks like what would be the first round of green flag pit stops.
Very interesting race. 59 is a lap down, but he is out there battling these guys. I think he has tires over them, so we might see tires versus no tires. Oh, he's wiggling. I think he hit the wall again as the 69 tries to get under the 49. As Craig Knoll still battling Ferguson.
19 of Ben Pivot just went around Christian Clark, our P3 point sitter, putting him 1 lap down.
I'm listening to the track, Mike. I just heard somebody tell the lap car, you're not making any friends out here. There might be something going on track with that lap car. We'll keep an eye on him in our background, but something's definitely happening with the 59 versus these lead lap cars.
Looking at the 69 of Todd Perrant, getting around the 49 of Paxton Brandon. Looks like Jonathan Green's going to try to shove his way up in there as well.
Braxton just got into the wall. This is another clear-cut case. burned up his tires, and now he's dropping down the field. As Braxton was P3 and has fallen to P6 now at this time.
Yeah, this is when I think you're really going to start to see those tires come into play. Looks like the 8 of Zach Reichel is coming. Oh, nope. Coming out of the pits back onto the track after his pit stop.
9 just announced he's heading to pit road as well. So, you know, he's been kind of towards the back end of the field. So he's trying to undercut these guys, trying to gain some time on them. You know, that's a win-lose situation. He'll gain time in the initial point. If these guys don't pit, he'll gain time. But when they do pit and tires wear off, their tires will be a little bit fresher than his and be able to hopefully take that time back.
So when you're the 19 of Ben Pivot, right, you have a 1.2 second lead over P2 and then a whopping 7-second lead over P3. When do you come in and pit? When do you say that, okay, these tires have worn out enough, I've extended my fuel run, now's the time that I come in?
If it was me, I'd do it now. I would, you know, split my tires even. I know I can manage them, especially since he just got into the wall just then. I'd be on pit road now. And I would just you know, split them even. You got 3 sets of tires, 150 laps. That's 50 laps per tire. And I would do what I need to do. I don't want to be out there losing time to these guys as Brandon Hinton is starting to chase him down. He's cut off 2/10 now.
Yeah, those new tires are definitely going to start coming into play in this.
It's looking like Brandon Hinton is managing those tires just
Oh,
a
as the
bit
18
better.
is into the wall, spinning around, and the caution is going to come out. The 18 car looked like he got into that inside safer barrier, and it sent him back up onto the racing surface, which will bring out our first caution of the night.
Looks like he did it exiting pit road. Cold tires might have shocked him, and he probably was so settled in his groove, he thought they would handle like those heated up tires as soon as he came out of exit. See, when I was coming out in practice, right at that exit, it gets really bumpy, which can offset the car a lot. And that's exactly what he hit. He hit those bumps, offset him, kicked him into the wall, and he came up on the racing surface.
Now, when you're the 19 car in P1 and you have not pitted yet, this is exactly what you wanted to see. Everybody else had came in, right? They had lost all that time, maybe even went a lap down. As we're about to go to our first commercial break while these cars are running around doing their pace laps, we'll be back in just one moment. And we're back on after that short commercial break. Looks like the 27, when he was exiting pit road during the caution, ended up spinning out off that exit and then got stuck with the banking of turn number 1.
Good job to everybody else to acknowledge, hey, this guy got stuck. Let's stop. Let's not ruin our race. Let's continue racing on. And they all paid attention. They stopped and they still lined up for the restart. That's amazing. That's some attention to detail from these guys.
Absolutely. I mean, keeping your focus on what's going around you, going on around you, is going to play huge into this race, whether it's under green flag laps or even under the caution laps, like we just saw, right? I mean, that'll happen to the best of us.
As we're about to go green flag, let's just point out something like this. Craig Knoll, top 5 car, 1 lap down in P15. So that pit cycle did affect a lot of people. Gary Bergson is going to be starting on the outside of Ben Pivot here. Ben Pivot has the start, but let's see how it goes.
There he goes. Looks like the top 5 got a pretty decent jump right there.
He got a good jump. I heard Thomas Long apologizing for something. Looks like he didn't mess up anything. Kept the field fine. He didn't affect anybody. Ben Pivot's going to continue on his way. Gary Bergeson's going to try and settle into P2 as he tries to chase these guys down. Now, we're back to this situation, Hunter. Do we burn up our tires in these first 10 to 15 laps, or do we just accept being passed and save our tires?
I think there's a fine line when it comes to using up your tires, right? You don't want to lose that track position. You saw the commanding lead that Ben Pivot had over the rest of the field. Right?
Oh, big red. Craig Knoll into the 99. Caution out.
And looking at the replay, it looks like Craig went down, got a little tight, got into the right rear of the 63, and it just slid up to the track for the 99.
I don't think
That's
that was
3
the
wide
69.
racing for you.
I don't think that was the 69. Let's try and take another look at it. It looks like the 9 actually got a little tight, pushed up right into the 63. I mean, that's not his fault. That's 100% not his fault. The way these cars are, if you got cars around you like that, it's gonna suck you up into them. That's just a racing incident.
Unfortunately, looks like a 3 wide racing incident. Looks like Thomas Long kind of got a little bit there at the end as he collects up with the 63. I mean, it's unfortunate, right? But it's a part of the game, right? As depending upon what line and where you want to push things, where you want to reserve your car.
Yeah, these next-gen cars are pretty tough when it comes to aero packages. They're great at like road courses. They're pretty good at mile and a halves, but any track where the aero can definitively affect the car, you get situations like that. And it's nothing Tad could have done differently. Nothing Craig could have done differently. Nothing Christian could have done differently. It just happened.
Sorry to cut you off there, but look at that right front of the 99, right? He was just on the outside, kind of minding his own business when he got caught up in there. It basically bent that right front toe about 45 degrees towards the engine.
If he's got a fast repair, he probably is going to use it. As he's leaving pit road already, he probably did use it.
Looks like the 8 of Zach Reichel is going to get the wave around here and get one of his laps back.
He got around Craig Knoll and he took that first car lap down from them. So he's probably happy about that.
Now, I think bunching the field back up, right, is going to make for a lot tighter racing. You're going to see a lot more action, but this is exactly what the 19 of Ben Pivot does not want to see, right? Once he gets onto a start and he gets a good jump, he wants to maintain that lead.
It kind of looks like we're going to have 3 races in one race, you know? You're going to have the lead pack obviously running the main race. Then you're going to have the tire saving race. Some guys are going to try and burn up. Some guys are going to try to conserve. Then you're going to have the lap down race. Those guys want to get on the lead lap as soon as possible. They want to be that first car a lap down, but they also have to do it smart. That's where the second race comes into play, the tire saving part. It's going to be an interesting race right now.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, looking at your lap down cars right now, you have a total of 3 cars that are 1 lap down. That's going to really come into play whenever these guys start looking at their point standings, right? You have Thomas Long sitting in 17th, 1 lap down. He's currently P11 in points. He is 1 point behind the 10th place car in the final slot into the playoffs.
Yeah, that guy. Oh, then that brings up another thing. There's 4 races, the point race. I forgot about that. Thomas Long needs a good showing. Being the first car lap down kind of gives him that 1 point he needs. But Ben Pivot, who's doing great, he's trying to extend his lead to 4 races, one. But like I said, he's a great driver, but he suffers in traffic. If he loses this lead, we might see a whole different side of him.
Absolutely, and I'm excited to see what the 49 is going to do here. Last restart, he started behind the 1, and he shoved the 1 up 2 positions, right? And they were getting a huge run on Ben Pivot. Now the 49 starting behind the 19, so I'm excited to see how this one plays out. As the
Getting a
pace
good
car,
restart is key, man.
absolutely, as the pace car lights are off, looking like we are 1 to green. As Ben Pivot is about to lead this field to the next green flag. Look at it right there, how that 49 tucks right up behind the 19. As soon as they get that green and he goes, he's just going to push him along. So he gets a massive jump on the restart.
Yeah, Todd Perront just could not do the same as he has to settle behind the 1 car. Now he's under threat from Ben Kuhn. And that's not something he wanted. That's also not something Ben Kuhn wanted either. Todd Perront, if I had to say anybody was a sleeper, it would be Todd Perront. He's never around when you think he should be, but he's around when he needs to be. And he is a
Always there at the
great
end.
driver for that.
Absolutely. I mean, look at it. We are 1 lap in, and most of the field is already single filed out. We got a little bit of too wide racing back there in the back.
This is the interesting part. The top 2 are guys we called out for burning up
Oh,
their
the
tires.
85 gets loose
Oh,
with
the
a
85
68.
around.
Holds it together. Good job.
Oh, he got clipped by Sean Dion and sent into the wall. Caution out.
That is a massive impact there. That motor's definitely going to be gone on that one. He's going to have to knock out one of his fast repairs. Yep, looks like that motor blew up, and Jeffrey Reed is going to have to tow it back to the pits. Ooh, yeah, look at that impact right there. It looked like after he made contact with the 68, he definitely recovered from it, but I don't know if the car was just so upset that he couldn't fully recuperate it, but he definitely straightened it out there after the initial contact. He might have even gotten a little bit of wheel damage from that contact with the wall. Looks like he made it there again and then contact with the 68.
Yeah, that was a very unfortunate situation, man. That's a pain to have happen.
It's unfortunate, but that's also we got 2 fast repairs in this league right here, right in the next gen. So I look forward to seeing him using his fast repair, getting back out on the track and trying to make his way back through the field. If I were a betting man and I would have placed a bet on how many cautions we'd have, I would have not guessed 3, to be honest with you. After that first 56 lap green flag run, I was willing to bet that most of this race, if not all, would be under green flag.
I was honestly thinking it'd be a green flag run race, but I'm surprised that we've had what 3 back-to-back cautions now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know what they say, right? Cautions breed cautions. As the cars start to close back up and bunch together, you're going to get some tight racing. And, after that long green flag run, some guys may not be used to that yet. Looking at the 9 of Tad Dabney, he was our lucky dog getting the wave around back to the lead lap. Unfortunately, it looks like our 85 car, Jeffrey Reed, who was involved in that last accident, he's going to go a couple laps down, getting this car towed back to pit lane so he can use one of his fast repairs. I will say, looking at some of these paint schemes out here on the field, right, it looks like we got a lot of really clean, good-looking paint schemes out here tonight.
Oh yeah, everybody's looking good. You know, these paint schemes are made by a multitude of people. Some people make them by themselves. You got Todd Perrant who makes paint schemes. You've got, Blake Reinbolt with CRR guys. He makes their stuff. Brandon Hinton makes some things. TRN, we have multiple paint makers in ours, so it's it's really good.
Looking at that 27 at Hinton, man, every single week you will not miss that paint scheme. That is the brightest paint scheme on the track.
I always say it. He's my favorite driver on track.
As the pace car lights are off, looks like we are coming out of turn 4 to take the green flag after our third or fourth caution of the night. Pace car is off, and here we go. '19 do a massive restart. Looks like he comes over to stop the run on the 49. As we're
49 still got a big run too himself, but again, man, I don't know if these guys are doing the right thing. Their launches are great. Their speed is great, but the tire burnup is the issue.
Look at the 56 back there pushing to the outside. Looks like he's trying to take that position away. We got a lot of good two-wide racing back here. Let's see if anybody's going to want to push it, right? We're starting to get close to that halfway mark, right? Is now when you start pushing, or do you hold off, wait till we get closer to the end?
Honestly, if it was me, you know how I am. I'm going to still be pushing, but I would have to sit back and listen to somebody as smart as, you are. I mean, when we're racing, you're the guy who makes our judgment calls. When you tell me to hang back, I try to as much as possible. If you think this is a situation to hang back, I would. You
looks like we have
the 40 car close to the apron.
Looks like we have a contention and a new leader. The 49 of Paxton Brandon takes it away from the 19.
And that was coming. But again, tires. As Ben Pivot is back on his outside. He's like, hey, man, I want my lead back. Get out of my way.
I'll tell you, he wasn't going to give that up easy, right? After that commanding lead and he had control over the entire field, I can almost guarantee you he's going to push as hard as he can to retain that lead right here.
He led 67 laps straight. You think he really wants to lose it? He's already lost one lap. He's not going to try and lose another lap.
He gets a massive run on the outside. Looks like he's going to be able to clear the 49 heading into turn number 1.
But look who they've tracked up behind him. Gary Bergeson, who we know is consistent. Todd Perrant, who needs to get the nickname the Sleeper. He is there. Ben Kuhn is also right there behind him. They got a little gap between Chris Wagner, who, remember, before the first caution, was battling in that back group. Now he's P6.
Absolutely. I mean, with these long green flag runs, right, your strategies are definitely going to come into play. Whether you pit prior, like that last one, right, we had a caution in the middle of the green flag cycle, so that will definitely affect how your track position is going to play into effect. Looks like the 19 has finally conceded a little bit to the 49 and is going to let him lead a few laps.
I think he didn't have a choice. Braxton's real quick in these short runs, so he kind of had to just accept that he wasn't getting by him. But now he's going to have to be careful about what's behind him. Gary Bergeson is there, and he is trying to get to that position.
Right. And one thing that's probably not going through these guys' minds right now is as they're battling it out, right, and they're fighting for the lead, they're not seeing what's coming up behind them. The harder they're fighting each other, the longer they stay side by side, the more time it's going to give that one to pull right up back to their bumpers.
Yeah, they're really going at it right now, as he's now, look at those top three all on top of each other. Ben Pivot pulled the one up to there as well. The one car just lurking in the background. 40 car also there, as well as the 57. He is right there. It's a lot of guys in condition. Hold on. I need to talk about this. Christian Clark, P11. He's also lurking on that lead group. All the way back to P11 is lurking on the lead group.
Looks like the 19 is not willing to give it up that easy. Look at the one of Gary Bergeron just kind of hanging out there in the back, deciding which lane he wants to go with right here.
As the 40 car gets around Todd Perrant, he's going to try and get up there. He's going to try and put his head in the pecking order for this fight.
And Todd's just sitting back there and he's watching all this play out and, seeing all these tires get burnt up. And he's just sitting back there kind of gazing, giving them a little bit of space. But once these guys are done duking it out, right, his tires are definitely going to come into a play and he's going to run these guys back down.
As we see Brandon Hinton getting under the 57, he wants to get back into the position he was. Brandon Hinton's a very methodical driver. As Tom Ringer trying to get under Mark Holloway, those similar looking cars, those orange and black cars, they're really trying to do what they need to do.
Yeah, looking at our top 8 right here, they're all kind of duking it out for position. Going back further than them, pretty much everybody's kind of single filed out, just ticking off the laps as we wind down.
As we hit the halfway point, these guys are still continuing the fight. I would say back to the 68 are all still, the top 8 are all in contention of getting the lead if anybody makes a mistake. Look at them. They're all pretty much nose to tail right there as Gary Berger is really all over the bumper of the 49.
Absolutely. One thing we haven't really talked about yet is the Charlotte track with this quad oval kind of has a similar effect to Atlanta, right? As you're exiting 4 into the quad oval and you kind of dip down to the apron, it almost kind of shoots you back out to that outside retaining wall. So I think as we start seeing guys get side by side, especially towards the end of the race, that's going to play a huge factor.
Oh, yeah, I agree. Every time they're side by side, you see them cars pitch up closer to each other.
Looking at that 40 car of Ben Kuhn, he was looking at the 3 wide, pulling up to the bumper of the 49.
Ben Kuhn's going to have to be really careful. He's another one of those guys who, 57 darts up towards the wall. The 40 car was another car that seemed to burn his tires up pretty bad. But if he learned from that situation, he should be fine as he's diving to the inside of the 49.
Yeah, going back through the field, man, it seems like everybody's sort of mellowing out here. They're kind of content with where they're sitting as the 56 of Mark Holloway is pulling up to the bumper, the 51 of Jonathan Green.
These guys are fighting hard, man. There's a lot of close battles, but they're being smart about it, Like, if you go look at some of the other races we've done before, like the truck races or Xfinity, you get to battling and they're like, hey, I need to make this person move out of my way. I need to beat him. But if you look at these guys, they're paying attention. They're like, hey, I'll let you by this time. But when you burn up or when I get an advantage, I'm right back there. They're paying attention to where they angle their cars at.
Well, I think a lot of that also comes down to play with what car we're driving, right? And the trucks, those things are pretty much like tanks, right? You can throw them into a corner and you can usually find your way out pretty simple, right? But as you start kind of progressing up that tree, you move the Xfinity car, those cars get really upset very quickly. And same thing with the NextGen. These cars are so rear end light that it's almost you don't feel the car stepping out on you, and it's pretty difficult to catch.
Oh yeah, they're wheeling these machines. Honestly, I couldn't do any better than anybody out there. Everybody on that track right now, 10 times better than me. They are paying attention to every aspect of this car right now.
Now, one thing that I am paying attention to, if you look back there in 15th position, Thomas Long is the first car one lap down. That's a huge thing for him. So the next caution, if there is another caution, he will be the lucky dog getting back onto the lead lap, and he needs these stage points if he wants to be in contention for. Sorry, the race points if he wants to be in contention for these playoffs.
I don't think they'll get a caution running like they are. I think when it comes time to pitting, we might see some more spinners. We might see people not paying attention to cold tires. That might be where it
Looking
is.
looking back at the 56 of Mark Holloway, the 3 of Sean Dion, starting to look a little too wide right there. It's like Craig Knoll on the inside was thinking about taking it 3 wide and decided to back out of it as they cross the stripe.
Yeah, Thomas Long, he's going to have to play the long game. You know, he wants to be the first car lap down. He doesn't want to be the car causing any issue as Craig Knoll takes that first car lap down position from him, like you said. Uh, he needs to be smart about it.
Looks like we got some pretty tight racing up here up front between the 27 of Brandon Hinton and the 49 of Paxton Brandon. C falls back to race with the 40 of Ben Kuhn.
I am noticing the 19 is not getting as big as a gap as he was before. Early on, he was having a bigger gap. He's about a second and a half up on these guys, but that's still overcomable. Like, you know, if they have cautions or, well, not cautions, if they start wearing into the tires, he can be caught still. It's when he crosses that 2.5-second threshold, that's when it becomes too big.
The 40 is going to try to shut the door on the 49, and now he's going to look to the inside. Now, one thing I did want to bring up that I've noticed here is, right, when you look at all these tight, close racing, when as soon as you see somebody start to, or a line start to be more favorable and to advance ahead, right, you're going to see more cars start to kind of shade towards that line, and it's just going to advance it even further. So, like, instead of losing 1 position, right, you're losing 3 because the entire pack behind you is going to also follow in suit.
Yeah, it's some tough battles out there as the Tom Ring gets below the 49.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a good battle been going on. It looks like the 49 may have burnt up his tires a little too soon, racing up there with that 19 as he starts to fall back a little bit.
You know, I've been in that spot before, you know, leading laps with a guy who's faster or knows how to manage his tires better, especially with people like Jordan Tross or Tom Ringer or something like that. They have kicked my butt and I burned up my tires really bad. Those guys know what they're doing, so you've got to kind of learn from them. Right now, Ben Pivot's the teacher out there. Try and learn from him. Or Gary Bergeson, Brandon Hinton. Those are the teachers right now. You need to settle in behind them and learn what they're doing.
So my question is, right, is as you're out there racing, right, and you're pushing these cars, at what point do you start to think back and be like, I need to start facing damage control, right? Not necessarily physical damage to the car, but I need to stop slowing the rate of positions that I'm losing, right? Because if you look at the 49, right, he was up there racing and he had the lead for a couple of laps and is now sitting in P7 fighting with the sleeper 69 of Todd Barant. One thing that I definitely am noticing here is, right, the difference in all the lines that are being ran, right? So you have the 19 that's usually kind of shading towards the bottom and he'll exit up high. As you kind of start going back in the pack, a lot of guys are favoring this high lane to get the run off of corner exit. But at what cost does that pay to your tires? As we looking back through the field here, it looks like pretty much everybody is single filed out. We all got a decent gap. There are still a few cars that are within a few tenths of each other, but most of the field is pretty much settled into place and kind of moving on from here. Get a little too wide racing between the 57 of Chris Wagner and the 1 of Gary Bergeron. Looks like that outside lane is going to prevail for the 57 as the 1 slides back into place. Looking at the 20 of Marcus Winowski and the 63 of Craig Knoll with the 8 of Zach Reichel. Looks like these guys are starting to battle it out for P11. '69 of Todd Perron's going to get around the 1 of Gary Bergeron.
Guys are having a real good race out there, man. I mean, it's insane what's going on. As I'm watching the 57 and P5 again, I have to bring up this guy was a part of the second group for those first 50 laps, and now look at him. That's what it is. You know, he was methodical. He paid attention. He conserved himself, and now look at him. He's up there in contentions for a top 5 finishing position.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm willing to bet within the next 10 to 15 laps, we're going to start seeing green flag stop cycle. These guys are sitting probably right around like 40 laps or so on their tires. You can see him right off exit. Ooh, as he gets a little loose there. But right off exit, as you start getting real close to that wall, these cars are starting to get a little rear end happy.
I think pretty much what it is these guys are trying to extend as long as they can. When the first car comes to pit road, that's when all the mindsets are going to kick in. They're going to go, all right, it's time to start thinking about pitting. It's time to start thinking about my tire management. Because again, like I said earlier, if you pit first, you will be faster when you come out. But if you pit last, you'll have the tires to the end as we round lap 96 here. 57 car getting passed by Todd Perront. Go ahead, continue.
One thing I will mention here, right, is when I'm looking at these strategies, I see there's 53 laps to go. I'm not thinking about, you know, should I pit now? Should I pit with everybody else? I'd be looking at it from the perspective of, if I pit, can I make it to the end, right? We've seen 2 massive green flag runs, right? These guys have only put maybe 1 to 2 sets of tires on these cars, right? We've seen these long green flag runs. Do I pit with them even though I may not be able to make it to the end? Or do I try to extend it to where I can take that checkered flag on 1 tank of gas?
And I agree with you on that. I mean, everybody in the top 10 has 44 laps on their tires. They're all pretty even. The thing is though, we saw this in the last one. When they came through and they started pits, we got a caution. Cars spun, they ran too long on those tires. I think everybody paid attention to that. We're obviously not going to get a run. I mean, we can get a run as long as that because they were in the 60s on their laps. So we can get a run as long as that, but nobody wants to do that. Everybody wants to be smart.
Yeah, and by the looks of it, right, like I was saying, everybody's kind of separated out. Everybody's kind of running their own race here, not really pushing too hard to burn their stuff up, right? Looks like everybody's pretty much kind of trying to extend their run as long as possible. So if this does go green to the end, they only have to stop 1 more time.
Now you've got a couple of the leaders, they're starting to talk a little bit more. Tom Ringer's starting to say things. Ben Kuhn has been saying some stuff. They're paying attention. You know, they want to all make it to the end. And if they do all make it to the end, these 20 plus people finishing the race, man, this might be the most people to finish a race without an incident that I've ever broadcast. Because these guys are that good. Everybody in this Next Gen series is that good. This car feels weird. It drives weird. It snaps loose in an instant. It gets tight in an instant. So it's nice seeing this.
Also, would like to give a big shout out to our new people out here on the track, right? These guys are just coming to the league. They're starting to get introduced to everybody that races with us every single weekend. And I look forward to specifically me personally seeing them out there on the track, right? And getting to turn some laps with these guys. One thing I would like to point out, if you look at P12 through P14, the 99 of Christian Clark, the 3 of Sean Dion, the 56 of Mark Holloway. The 56 started in dead last. He did not qualify. He's sitting in 14th right now. All of them are flirting right there with that top 10. I look forward to seeing how they're going to play out. Looks like we have our first section of the green flag cycles. The 68 of Tom Ringer hits the pit road. Now the question is, do you follow him or do you stick to your original strategy?
I mean, this would be my mindset. He came to pit road. Do I want to give up track position? Do I want to run the risk of being a lap down when the caution comes out? Because, I mean, look at people like Craig Knoll. Craig Knoll was in the top 5, top 6. He pitted, caution came out. He's a lap down now and can't get it back because he needs a caution too. There's no stage breaks in here. There's no freebies of cautions. And, that's the hard part there is Craig Knoll worked hard to reach where he was, and a bad pitch strategy kind of ruined it for him. I don't know. I don't think I would do that. I think I would stay out as long as I can until I started seeing people bounce off the wall frequently. I don't think I'm pitting.
As the 68 pulls out of the pits and cycles back into traffic. Looks like he is going to go one lap down, sitting right behind Craig Knoll. Let's see what these fresh tires can do for him.
Oh, I mean, look at him. He pulled out. Sean Dion was a car length behind him. We go through one corner. He's now 6 car lengths behind him. I think tires are strong, and, well, I think they're strong. I think if we get a couple of the top 5 guys right near each other, well, as the 57 bounces off the wall in front of the 1, I think once we get some top 5 guys who pitted together and we see how they run, I think we'll know how tires are. As Bergeson's on pit road, he's going to the pits.
Yeah, one thing that is really cool to see, right, in with these long green flag runs that we're seeing is the amount of focus and attention that it requires to run these sort of runs, right? When we're running Bristol in the truck and we're getting 50 to 60 green flag laps consecutively, the amount of attention that it requires to just maintain this car and to maintain pace, right? And the amount of focus that this simulator takes for you is just insane. So honestly, props to these guys. Running these long green flag laps is not a simple task. Looks like we got the 8 of Zach Reichel hitting the pit road, doing his cycle. This will probably be their last pit stop of the evening. If we stay
Unless
green.
they have an extra tire set for petitions of cautions, as Wisnowski is battling the 49 of Paxton, they need to pay attention to what they're doing. It's gonna be a tough race. You know me, Hunter. You know me. This kind of race, I would suffer horribly. But, you're a smart guy. You know strategies. You know what's going on. What would be going through your mind as you're thinking about this next pit stop and you're thinking about, how the race is going to go? Are you worried about a caution? Are you worried about spinning out on the fresh tires? What are you thinking?
I mean, you're trying to find that fine balance of when you want to push and when you want to save. We still have 40 laps to go here, so I don't want to just absolutely use everything that I have up in 20 laps. I kind of want to conserve it as much as I can, but I also don't want to lose that track position and that timing, right? And so the big thing that'll come into play is if you look at the lap times that like Ben Pivot is setting, right, in our P1, got a 2.5 second lead, right? If you're succeeding his lap times and you're slowly catching up to him, right, you're doing good. and that's the pace that you want to set. So if you tick off maybe 2 to 3 tenths a lap, maybe even half a tenth a lap, right? That's the kind of gains you want to see. Now, if you're pushing to where you're dropping, a second and a half, between half a second and a second, you might be pushing a little too hard and burning your stuff up a bit too early.
And I 100% agree with you saying, as I just watched Tom Ringer pass some of our top 5 cars in a moment's notice. I mean, tires are strong. I mean, I couldn't think about everything like that. To me, it's I've got tires. The race is towards its end. Let me start pushing. And I think that would cost me. And I think those guys who are thinking that, who are thinking, let me go pit and then just blaze through my tires, it's going to cost them. These guys in this Next Gen series have showcased that they are all about consistency as Mark Holloway hits pit road, as we get a replay of him going down. You've got to be careful. You've got to pay attention to it all. And it's tough to do that.
Yeah, it absolutely is, right? And a lot of it is situationally based. If we're running, if me and you are running together, right, and you have a 5-second lead on me, and we're on the same set of tires, right, that's going to be very difficult for me to track you back down. So I might be more concerned about defending than I would being the aggressor and trying to push and burn that 5 seconds, unless I know for a fact that I can get it without risking my track position. As these guys continue to cycle through their green flag laps, looks like these tires are definitely succeeding the older tires.
Yeah, these guys I'm hearing call outs. They're being smart about it. They're like, hey, just go on the inside. They want to let people by because they have to understand those guys who got tires are going to be faster. Some of them have ended up 2 laps down. Some of them are just 1 lap down. The ones who are 1 lap down, those are the ones you have to be weary of. Tom Ringer, Bergeron, Zachary Reichel, and then Mark Holloway was 1 lap down, but I think he just got clipped into 2 laps down, or was he always 1? I don't know. But those are the guys you have to worry about because when you cycle through, they're the guys who are going to be up there fighting you.
Exactly. And as you're watching, right, you start seeing these guys with the fresher tires slowly start running down towards our lead pack here. So at what point, if you're up there and you're running, let's say in the top 5, at what point do you say now is the time?
To me, it was 10 laps ago. It was 10 laps ago to say pit. I do not want them getting an advantage. And that may be the wrong call, but that's the risk versus reward of it, as Jonathan Green, Marcus Wisnowski are on pit road. That's the risk versus reward. I would say 10 laps ago, let me pit now. I don't want them to have an advantage. But somebody else may say, I'm going to pit in 15 laps, maximize my strategy, and have tires at the end. That's where it boils down to, in my opinion. It's a strategist versus a speedster. And that's the problem. You can be as fast as you want, but if you don't have the strategy to back it up, you're going to go nowhere. But you can be as strategic as you want, but if you have no speed behind the strategy, you go nowhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely, right. It's kind of a hand-in-hand thing, right? You can be fast, but are you going to be fast for a long run, or are you trying to push for a 20-lap run, right? And it's all kind of the gamble of your pit strategy.
As we just hear on track mic 19 to pit road now. 19 to pit road now. This is where it gets interesting. Do all the other people on the lead lap or right behind him follow him now? Or do they still try to wait a lap? Because again, this is where new tires become fast, as he has some damage to that front end. So the question is he going to take a little bit of repairs and get out or not? 40's now on pit road. He's P2. So it looks like they're going 99 in pit road now. So I think they all chose this guy's going to pit road. We're going to pit road now. That's what sucks about being the leader. You kind of either get screwed by the pit strategy or you lead the pit strategy.
So we also have Ben Kuhn hitting the pits. So the biggest thing, right, and I think that it'll come down to, and if you're one of these guys that are sitting, 12, 15, 17 seconds off the leader, right? At that point, you're kind of looking for a Hail Mary, right? You want a caution to come out. You want Ben Pivot to go a lap down while you get the caution to stay on the lead lap, because that's going to give you the track position in front of him. So ultimately, I mean, it comes down to how aggressive you want to be with the strategy. As the 69 Todd Perrott hitting the pit lane for his last green flag stop.
He looked like he might have been speeding just there. I mean, he came in there fast. The 49 as well. I mean, he's coming in there fast. We also got the 57 hitting pit road as well, as Sean Dion's still on track. Todd Perrott getting some laps led here. Here in DES, we don't have the bonus point for leading a lap. If we did, we might have a little more shakeup in pitch strategy. But at the same time, I think that bonus point's a little bit bogus, so I'm glad we don't have it.
Yeah, ain't that right?
I'm not a fan of free points. John Dion still on track. He's got 68 laps on those tires, as he's got Tom Ringer chasing him down. Remember, Tom Ringer was one of the first guys to hit pit road. So this is where the cycle through kind of helps him, He just now pitted, or he pitted early on, and he's catching the now leader. He's a second and a half down on him, while the original leader of the race is 8 seconds down. But as you can see on that ticker right there on your left-hand side of your screen, they are catching, and they are catching fast.
Now, the biggest thing is if you're Sean Dion, 70 laps on those tires, Tom Ringer is catching him by, I would say, maybe half a second to 7/10 of a second per lap. The biggest thing he needs right now is Sean Dion wants to hold this lead as a caution.
I mean, if Sean Dion got a caution, it'd be great for him. He would still drop down. Current running order, he would fall to about 12th position, as the 13th position car would get the lucky dog. As he is getting passed by Tom Ringer, I don't think a caution is going to come out. Tom Ringer is going to sail by him. Tom Ringer's got 26 laps till victory. Does he have enough fuel? Will his tires hold up? Ben Pivot is still catching. They're still catching.
The big question will be, does he have enough time? And it looks like after the 3 surrendered the lead to the 68, he is going to hit pit road and get 4 fresh tires and some fuel.
Tom Ringer is going to try and hold on to this lead, but you got to remember, Ben Pivot has cycled through to P2 a lap ago, or about lap or 2 ago. He was 7 seconds down, 5 seconds down. Now he's going to have to work hard. Now this is where that part where I said Tom Ringer pitted early, so his tires are a bit more worn than the second place car, but he built up a massive gap with lap cars in between. Can he catch him? Can he fight him for it? As Hinton's going around Bergeron.
Based off of that, right, if you look at Ben Pivot, just 2 to 3 laps ago, he was 7 seconds behind Tom Ringer. He's now cut that lead to 4.4 seconds. I think within the next 15 laps or so, you're going to see Ben Pivot knocking on the bumper of that 68.
That's what I'm thinking as well. Towards about 15 laps ago, I think Ben Pivot's going to be there. But as someone who has raced Tom Ringer as well as yourself, and Ben Pivot has multiple times as well, but for a little insight to the viewers, Tom Ringer is a very hard guy to pass. He can turn a car that's 1 lane wide into a 3 lane wide car, and he'll do it respectfully. He's not going to hit you. He's not going to crowd you. He's not going to block you. But you were going to find it very hard to pass him.
The last 2 laps that we just ran, so lap 127 and 28, were a 7/10 difference between our leader, the 68, and the 19 of Ben Pivot. He is coming, and he is coming fast. Looking at most of our field is fairly spread out. You're looking at quite a bit of gap between most of the cars. Seems like everybody's really settled out here. I think the only thing that's really going to pull them close together is if we get one of these late race cautions.
That's the issue, as Ben Pivot is now 2 seconds down on the leader. He is coming, and he is coming fast. He is not trying to wait on that. Now, one great thing about DES, again, that everybody should know and should love, we have teams in this, but we don't have team orders across teams. It's everybody run your own race. So there's nobody who's going to block Ben. There's nobody who's going to try to stop him. Tom Ringer's going to have to fight this fight by himself, as Ben can see him out of his front windshield. He is aiming for him. He's trying to get his 4th win of the season. He's trying to set himself up as the title contender.
Now, the one thing I see between Tom Ringer and Ben Pivot are those 3-lap cars. How difficult are they going to make it to get around him?
Now, the 59, he does race people like he's still in the lead lap, so that might be a little tough, as I say that as he sails by him. But the 60 and all them, they might just move out of the way. They're not bad people. They know how to run a race. It's Tom Ringer. Man, he is close. Look at him. He is on the same corner straight away. He's about, what, 7 car lengths behind? 4? 3 is trickling down.
Yeah, if you're that 68, it's time to make this car 4 lanes wide. As that,
as he goes to the bottom, which I'm surprised about. I mean, he knew that guy was coming. It might have been time to go to the top side, but he's going to ride next to him. He's going to sail it off into turn 3. He's going to try and keep battling him. It's to no avail. It's the tires, man. You were right. It is the tires. The tires matter that much.
yeah, it doesn't look like the 68's got much left in the tank, but you know, if I were him, I would be kind of focusing on that damage assessment, right? Can I maintain the position? Not sure what the gap is between P2 and P3, right? But I'd be wanting to hold Brandon Hinton back as far as I possibly can.
I don't think he can, because look, there's Brandon Hinton right there. He's coming too. He wants to get into P2. Brandon Hinton has also kind of casually been catching the leader as well, but he's mainly been catching Tom Ringer.
Yeah, and at this point, right, sitting with 24 to go, I'd say the gloves are off, right? It's time to start pushing. It's time to use everything left that you have.
As Tom Ringer comes over the radio and he tells him, take the inside, man. I think he knows his battle is already lost. So now, like you said, he's in that damage control mode. He's trying to just hold on to any position he can. I know the last thing these guys want is a caution. I don't think it would happen, but if one did happen, it'd be an interesting fight between Ben Pivot and Brandon Hinton.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and if there were a late race caution, if there were to be, right, I wouldn't count anybody out within the top 8, top 10 drivers, right? They're all going to be right there. So if anything happens up front, you know, guess who's going to be knocking at the door? And you know, if I'm in the 68 shoes right now, right, I'm trying to play damage assessment. I want to try to maintain that 5-second gap I have over P4, the number 1 Gary Bergeron.
You know, Brandon Hinton, I don't think he's ever won a race, but that man has knocked on the door every time, and he is still there knocking on the door. If Ben Pivot makes any kind of mistake, Brandon Hinton's going to be there. I mean, he's staying within about a second, 2 of him. That's mistake distance. You know, that's the good thing about mile and a halves. It's not a super speedway. In a super speedway, you got about no error for mistake. If they make a mistake, you know you're passing them, they've wrecked. It's not a short track. You know, short tracks, you can make mistakes and still salvage it. This is a mile and a half. You make a mistake, you lose a lot. You knock the toe out of the car, you'll lose a lot. You do anything, you're going to have some major problems. So I know that's probably what Ben Pivett's thinking about, and he is trying to make sure he runs his line as best as possible.
So we were talking about the 69 of Todd Brant being the sleeper out there on the track. Look it up there in P5, that 51 of Jonathan Green, right? Cracking into the top five.
He's been running sub top 10 the whole race, and now he's in P5. That's pretty good. Tom Perrant's P7. Zachary Reichel, who came off his I believe it was his first podium finish about 2 weeks ago. He's now sitting there in the top 10 as well. Braxton Brandon, newcomer to the series, he's in P9. Marcus Wisnowski, he's sitting P10. You know, he finished P3 in the truck race at Atlanta, and I think in my recent memory, that's his highest finish ever. So, you know, a lot of good guys who've been knocking on the door are right there at the front. You know, they're trying to build a better, you know, resume for their driving skills right now.
Yeah, absolutely. As we're coming 8 laps to go, it looks like Ben Pivot is maintaining that lead over Brandon Hitton at about a 1.2, 1.3 seconds back. Does Brandon have enough left in the tank to roll that lead back down?
I think this is, like you said, this is the time to kick it into high gear. You know, Brandon Hinton's going to have to put the pedal to the metal, you know. He's going to have to do some Talladega Nights style racing. You know, he's going to have to start thinking if he ain't first, you're last, and you just start pushing that car, pushing it, pushing it. But at the same time, with the amount of laps left and how worn out his tires are, it could cost him as well. And I think that's what he's thinking about. I think he's thinking, let me run consistently, accept the P2, and just kind of roll with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this has just been an awesome performance put on by all these guys, right? You know, the very few cautions. We've had an awesome green flag run, cycled into some stops, right? And the amount of focus that these guys have put into this to have this successful of a race has just been outstanding to watch.
A lot of these guys have been dominant guys, you know, constant front runners, but now they're really like having to put that to the test, you know. You've had a tire war. You know, these guys are running like this is the Coca-Cola 600, which, you know, in real life is a tire attrition, a fuel saving race. You know, it's the longest race in NASCAR, and these guys have been running like that. They've been paying attention to what they're doing. They're making sure that they make it to the end.
As these laps are starting to slowly wind down, it looks like Ben Pivot has put a tiny bit more of a gap on Brandon Hitton. I don't know if he's saving what he's got left or just hitting into some lap traffic that's not being too cooperative with him.
Yeah, he's around some interesting lap traffic. Mark Holloway, he's normally a guy that moves around you, but he's also a guy you want to be really patient around because nobody ever wants to be mean to the nice guys on track, you know? Nobody ever wants to bully their way around them. So there are guys on track that you're going to be a little bit nicer to. And, you know, Mark Holloway is one of them. So even though he pulled up to him, he was going to obviously be real nice about it, and that might have cost him a little bit time.
One thing I was surprised to see watching these next gen cars, right, and compared to the trucks, right, because we just ran the trucks here, is draft was not as big of a factor as I was suspecting it would be, right? In the truck series, when you're on the backstretch, you'll feel it slowly start to kind of pull you up to the bumper of the guy right in front of you, and the larger line with the more cars is typically going to be your more successful line. But I mean, here it seems like it's not as big of a factor. These cars are spreading out a lot quicker, and it's not necessarily helping them as much.
I think it's because these cars have a little bit more horsepower and a more aerodynamic efficient. You know, they're able to run high speeds by themselves versus the truck that has pretty much an air dam right in front of them and on the back of them, you know. These vehicles are self-sufficient cars. They're meant to run by themselves. They're meant to maximize their time on track. So, in the truck series, yeah, you're going to have a situation. I mean, think about it this way, right? If you go to tracks like Kansas at the nighttime with a cold track, you can run flat out in the trucks. But these cars, you can't because you still have to pay attention to what you're doing.
Absolutely. As Ben Pivot, our leader, is starting to come out of turn 4 to take the white flag, we have 1 lap to go.
1 lap to go for Ben Pivot to try and get him his 4th win. And honestly, he won it in dominating fashion. He even got back in traffic. Like I said, he's not strong in traffic, but he showed today that he's learned how to drive in traffic as Ben Pivot comes out of turn 4 to take victory at Charlotte for DES in the Next Gen series.
Awesome performance put on by all these guys.
He was just bad fast, man. I mean, I think if there was a caution, Hinton or Ringer may have had something for him, but he was such a strong car, man. His launches on restarts, his race pace. Yeah, he was hitting the wall in the first stint, but I think he learned from that and he learned how to drive.
Absolutely. After such a dominating performance by that 19 machine, I look forward to him.
As we got Tom Ringer here for our 3rd place finish. Tom, well done out there, methodical racing. You had some great pit strategy. What was going through your mind when you were in the lead, but they started coming back towards you?
I knew he was going to catch me. I didn't quite set my car up for dirty air, and that's where I made my mistake.
Yeah, we saw you out there in the lead, right? And yeah, I'm assuming you had a little bit older tires. How much did tires play in effect for this race?
I played a bunch. It especially for the first 15 laps, you're real quick. After that, it levels off. I just did not quite have the time.
Yeah, that's typically what we saw throughout the race as well, right? The first 15 to 20 laps, you'd be pretty quick, and then the tires would start to fall off, and you'd see those fresher tires start to come into play.
Yeah, I mean, Ben was, when you're out front, you got clean air, your car is going to drive completely different. Once you get in traffic, it wreaks havoc on you. And then I got caught 1 lap down and got the wave around, and then I was behind everybody, so it was just trying to pick my way through it. Took a while.
Yeah, looking at these point standings, right? You are absolutely dominating the regular season points with a 36-point lead over P2 of Brandon Hinton, right? Are you looking forward to carrying this momentum from Charlotte into next week's first round of playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty good at 3 of the tracks. One of the tracks, Brandon's gonna win it, I'm sure. Or Ben, I'm sorry. Ben's probably gonna win that one. He's real quick, so I gotta have to be on my A game.
Yeah,
Man,
well,
that was an amazing race watching you run that. I'm look forward to watching you run in the next race, the Milwaukee Mile. That's a kind of a toss-up track. If we look at how you guys ran at Gateway, that's a bit of a toss-up track for all of you. Are you excited for that? Are you looking forward to it? You're a playoff driver again. You were a playoff driver in the trucks. You were a playoff driver in the Xfinity, and now you're a playoff driver in the next gen. Man, you're next level.
Well, I appreciate it. I mean, I try, you know what I mean? The playoffs work good to me. In the trucks and Xfinity, I had a couple guys mad at me, I guess. But all in all, I'm hoping next gen will be my winner. So we'll see.
well, hey Tom, I want to personally wish you luck to next week's first round of playoffs, man. I hope it all plays out in your favor, and awesome performance tonight with that 3rd place finish.
I appreciate it, guys.
Looks like Brandon Hinton, who was our 2nd place finisher, is not here for his interview. Congratulations to him. He runs a strong race every time. He was a next level driver. Let's get our race winner, Ben Pivot, in here and let's have a conversation with him.
Roll next to each other. Oh,
Ben Pivot, what an absolute dominating performance. the amount of laps that you led, right? Very dominant over that first long green flag run. Once the pit stop cycled through, right, you kind of fell back. Those newer tires prevailed. What was your strategy to winning this race?
Um, just saving the tires. I knew it was going to be a bit of a tire saving race because Charlotte's I would say it's an easier track to drive just for the average person. Like you won't just spin out if you throttle up too hard or something like that. So yeah, I knew there was going to be quite a bit of green flag and just focused on saving the tires, putting in the laps.
You know, Ben, it was really fun watching you out there. I mean, I don't think you really had to deal with traffic except for like one brief point in the race. I mean, one thing that I've noticed from you is, traffic can kind of be like, catastrophic for you. Were you ever worried about being mired back behind them and going through those issues again?
A little bit, especially with Brandon being really strong. Like, if he didn't spin off pit road, coming off pit road, then yeah, it would have been a lot tighter finish at the end between us two. But yeah, nah, just yeah, traffic's never fun to deal with. But I mean, it's something you got to learn through, and something I've got to learn to get better at. Just navigating through traffic.
Well, I definitely think you were very successful in that today, right? So closing out the regular season, it looks like you're going to be between the third and the fourth place finish. Starting with the playoffs next week, right? How do you intend on carrying this momentum into the Milwaukee Mile?
Well, I don't really like the walking mile, so uh, I'll just try get a top 5 finish, try win, or just try to do better than Tom and Brandon, whoever else is in the playoffs. But yeah, I'm still excited for it, and yeah, hopefully I can win the championship.
Well, like I said, an absolutely dominating performance throughout the night. 127 laps out of 150 laps. That is definitely a box to check off of your list, right? That is very, very impressive. I want to congratulate you on your win tonight and the awesome performance, and wish you good luck through the next 4 races of the playoffs.
Thank you, and thank you guys for commentating. Cheers.
I feel like this is win number 4 for you, if I remember correctly. Man, you've really shown yourself as a strong driver, a powerhouse driver. It's going to be real fun watching you next week at Milwaukee, and I can't wait to commentate it for you.
Sweet. Cheers, guys. Thank you all.
Cheers.
Well, Hunter, that was a pretty great race here at Charlotte in the Next Gen Series. I don't think we could have asked for anything better.
Absolutely not. An awesome performance by all that was out there, right? There was never any moments where we're like, oh, another caution, another wreck. These guys are pushing as hard as they can, and it turned out to be a very, very good race.
Oh, yeah, man. I loved every second of it. I can't wait to get to Milwaukee next week. I can't wait to broadcast that. Am I going to have you in the booth then too, Hunter?
Absolutely.
Heck yeah. We're going to have an amazing time there. Thank you all for coming here to DSI Racing. If you would like to race with us, make sure you like, subscribe, and join our Discord. It is on the channel. We will be racing again next week in these next-gen vehicles, and we will also start having our races, our exhibition races for the off week and stuff like that next week as well. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you. Damon Productions, Hunter Davis, great job. Everybody, see ya.